在我们国家，你不能拍你对象的屁股。
在我们国家也不可以啊。
当然，我们国家也不可以。
不是哪个国家是可以的？
在中国对象能拍，我见过真的很多。
我也确实承认我见过，
真的很多在中国。记得有一次我去我朋友家在中国，我已经给他打电话说你在家吗？他说马上到。你知道中国人的马上到，有可能1个小时，有可能1个小时。因为呢，你也是没有夏天。
啊？那你这么黑？
我黑是因为夏天吗？
我来了中国之后，我发现我越来越黑。这个是我在我的国家还没来中国的时候拍的，这个是我来了中国之后。
他以为这个老不死就是夸奖一个人的。那个人跟我说我今天95岁多了，那我跟他说哇，恭喜你呢，你真是一个老不死。他就是大眼，还以为他可能是开心的。
来中国前健身，来中国后健身。
哎呦我的妈！我操，无情！
来中国前打招呼。
Hey, what's up, bro?
Hey.
来中国后打招呼。
哎，李姐，多久没见了？忙什么呢？最近我没事，我溜达。吃了吗您呢？没吃，再吃一口去啊！今儿就在炸酱面。走。
来中国前玩乐器。来中国后玩乐器。
哎呀，柯南，你快教教我呀！
哎呀，你学那玩意儿干啥？一点感染力都没有，你不得整点有劲儿的吗？
啥有劲儿啊？
我记得那一天节目组呢让我跟小强一起住，但是已经10点晚上了，小强没有回来，然后我不敢一个人睡觉，所以我说花婆婆你可以来跟我睡。小强还没回来，我觉得今天他不回来了，因为已经10点晚上了。花婆婆 OK 可以。大概1点晚上呢，我听到了有人在打开门，然后我知道 Oh my God， 小强一定要回来了。然后我知道如果小强回来的时候看到花婆婆在睡在她的床上的时候很没礼貌，所以我说来这里！
已经延误了5个多小时，这么累，一起打开门 ，In my room, on my bed, with my partner. Oh my God！ 2个都是头光，同一个床上，
带了2个大包，把你的包放在你 X-ray， 然后突然有一个警察他来看我，然后他说你的里面有什么很大的？我很自信的说，我说哦白粉，他很紧张，说有什么？然后我很自信的说，因为我请练中文，是白粉啊，怎么了？房间你知道吗？然后有5个人了，当时我真的很怕了，我以为带了不好的东西。然后你知道你紧张的时候，因为你的包锁着。我找不到钥匙，
因为你在表演，
我真的脸都红了。打开的时候，你知道吗？他们就说哦，蛋白粉。
Do you have electricity supply in Africa? No, we don't have electricity supply in Africa, but anytime we need electricity, the oldest witch in our community goes to the top of the highest mountain in Wakanda, then summons the god of thunder, Amadioha. Do you have toilet paper in Africa? No, we don't have toilet paper in Africa, but anytime we need to use the toilet, we go straight to the forest, do our business, and then grab a couple of dried grass and figs, roll them together, then wipe. Africans speak English. Africans can't speak English, but anytime they need a right for us to speak in English, we just close our eyes and summon the spirit of our ancestors who were alive during the colonial era, and their spirit is going to possess us. So we just open our mouths and speak, and it gets automatically translated into the English language.
This is funny. The BBC newsroom had an awkward problem just recently. The Chinese brokered a peace deal in the Middle East, and all the other media were reporting it. But BBC people had a secret policy to avoid printing anything positive about the Chinese if they can help it. So the BBC took 6 steps which made their coverage pretty much unique. First, they buried the report way down the news list below such world-shaking historical stories such as one about Stormy Daniels and one about Tiger Woods' girlfriend. And there it is right at the bottom. Second, they wrote a headline which omitted any mention of the Chinese. Yeah, the story was about a Chinese brokered deal, but that wasn't in the title. Third, they found a rare picture of the event which failed to include Wang Yi, who brokered the deal. Fourth, they wrote the news lead, that's the opening paragraph, which completely forgot to mention China's role. It's hilarious. Fifth, the only reference to China in the main part of the report is to say that the deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia happened in China. As if these two gentlemen had decided to go on holiday around the world and just happened to be in that particular country when they, entirely by themselves, decided to spontaneously broker a peace deal. Sixth, the actual news that China had brokered a history-making deal is left right to the end of the story in a quote from the United Nations chief. You can almost hear the BBC News people saying, "Put it right at the end, and let's pray that no one reads that far." You can't make this stuff up.
Here we are at one of China's largest concentration camps in the country. You can see the bars of terror behind me, imprisoning every single minority in China. I just spoke to one of the detainees over there behind me, and she told me of a life of terror and turmoil inside the camp. She wishes to one day to be able to escape from this camp and to return to a better life here. I'll cut that part. For example, a street like this. If Western media were to report here, they're not going to show it as it is like this. Firstly, they're going to lower the saturation. Then they're going to put a little vignette around the edge of the screen. And then they're going to add some kind of weird, dark, yellowish tone to try and make it look like it's 1960s or something. And then they might even add some kind of sad, mysterious, spooky music. And then they might even put a bit of slow motion on it as well. That's Western media's portrayal of China.
I found an amazing poll that I think was from the Pew Research Center where it said 77% of the world now views China in a negative light. 77%. Yep. For that survey, they interviewed 30 countries. Every single country was from the global north. It was essentially the US, Canada, the EU, Australia, and Japan. Yeah. So it's like, okay, this is not the world. You're not even close to the world.
They represent a very small percentage of the population of the world.
Very small percentage of the population. So that's where I make the videos where people will say, Cyrus, you know, you're too pro-China. I'm like, no. Listen to this. Is if you have a survey that says 77% of the world and you block out South America, Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, I mean, that's by far the vast majority of people in this world. Yeah. And I mean, that's where, again, like if you take, let's just pick a random country, Bolivia, you know, or any other country, you know, these small, you know, Nigeria, you know, just like, you know, smaller countries. It's like, what do you want? Of course I want to do trade with both the United States and China.
Unfortunately, the present ongoing effort to demonize China coming from the US, the UK, and the G7 is based on a combination of fear and virtual total ignorance of both modern China and the great history of over 5,000-year-old civilization. Western political leaders presently lack any insight into this great, long history. They are trapped in a philosophical basement of Western philosophical thinking, Hobbesian view that sees men and women fundamentally as only evil and egotistical. Therefore, they operate on the law of the jungle. They consider brute force to be the solution to problems. And they cannot and do not trust others. And this is creating the basis for the great geopolitical conflicts that are terrorizing and tragically affecting the human race at the moment.
就不知道为什么，但是很多外国人认为就是亚洲人或者中国人比他们丑。但是实际上我们比他们丑得多，因为比如我男朋友他1个星期不洗澡也没关系，没有臭味儿。好像我不小心说了我男朋友的秘密。是因为中国是世界上人口第2大国家，所以我很担心人口的问题。因为你们一个城市，比如上海是我们国家整体人口的5倍，所以我在网络上看到一个很让我惊讶的 article， 就是说，就是你在走路的时候要把桌布放在前面，就是避免被挤死。然后我也真的是在我们国家练习了很久，但是我这样不是太傻吗？为什么外国人对中国偏见这么多？是欧洲没有网络吗？ 是的，是真的没有网络。你们看，就是在中国聊天用微信、搜索用百度，都是中国人自己的互联网公司。但是欧洲人用的是 Facebook、Google， 都是 M 国的公司。所以 M 国想给我们看什么，我们就能看什么。我记得我来中国留学前，我非常期待，我想在网络上了解一下马上我要去的中国是怎么样的国家。但是那时候在网络上我看到一些 YouTuber， 他们说自己是中国专家，但是他们视频里都是说中国有多么脏，多么危险，吓得我和我同学都不敢去了。后来我来了中国以后才知道，这些人说都是谎言。所以我有了一个打算，我要开一个 YouTube 的频道，介绍一下真实的中国是怎么样的，然后我的频道就被 YouTube 封了2次。所以我们很难在网络上找到关于中国的真实的内容。
When people claim that China has ulterior motives with Africa, China's agenda to grab resources, China's agenda to trap African countries into debt. For us, who knows the history, we just laugh and say these people, they don't know what they're talking, or if they know what they're talking, they've decided to distort the truth, because China did not start yesterday to help African countries, to work with African countries. And we've never seen any conditions, we've never seen any dictations to do anything that would compromise our sovereignty. That has never happened. Even we talked about debt trap. This debt trap is just a propaganda. As a matter of fact, many countries in Africa, they are indebted to other financial institutions. China's share is very, very little compared to other financial institutions in other countries. So whoever is alarming the world that China is putting Africa into debt trap, they have their own agenda.
来中国之前，我一直以为不用到家是最方便、最机智的用餐方式。来中国之后，我才发现不是。中国古代的人是最有远见的。为什么呢？因为他们很早就开始用筷子。他们怎么知道现代人的生活方式就是一边吃一边看手机
？Been around for a few thousand years, and many countries have. But in world history, China is the only country that's been at the top 3 or 4 times. China's also collapsed 3 or 4 times and been catastrophe. But in history, Rome was great once. Egypt was great once. Great Britain was great once. But China's been great 3 or 4 times. You totally collapse. And I don't know why, but it's the only country that after it's been at the bottom for a while, has turned around 3 or 4 times and risen to the top again. I don't know why, but China's the only country in world history that's been great 3 or 4 times. Nobody else has done it. It's happening again. If any of you know why China's the only country in world history, please send me an email.